Yeah, I'm ready.
So now
Hello,
you should use share screen button.
Okay,
Dr.
share
Nadzalan.
screen.
Yeah. If you go with your mouse, with your cursor down to the window, you will see, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Hello, can I start?
Yes, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ali from Malaysia. So today I am going to present a paper entitled The Effects of Unilateral versus Bilateral Resistance Training on Physical Performance Among Trained Men. Okay. So first thing first, when we go to the gym, we can see a lot of training method that can be done. Okay, one of it is whether we perform an exercise unilaterally or bilaterally. Okay, bilateral exercise means that we share a resistance between two limbs, as you can see in the picture here. Okay, it is a movement that is produced by two limbs at the same time. Okay, usually bilateral exercise we use barbell. Okay, we use barbell and we move at the same time, both of our limbs. And another one is unilateral exercise, means that movement that is produced by one limb. So usually during unilateral exercise, we will use dumbbell to produce the movement. Okay, like like for example, during the bicycle exercise, we use dumbbell and move one by one. So previous study by Botten have found that the sum of unilateral left and right limb produce greater force compared to bilateral. Means that when we sum up the right hand and left hand strength, it will produce greater score compared to using barbell. Okay, and in 2016, the same researcher also found the same among women. The cause of this finding are not well explained and understood, and one of the most consistent mechanism behind this finding is that neural limitation exists during bilateral exercise, thus causing force production to be decreased. Okay, so when we consider the bilateral deficit, okay, we can see that if the left and right hand we sum up both of the score, we can see that the unilateral produce greater strength compared to the bilateral. Okay, a deficit occur when the sum unilateral force is greater than the bilateral force. Okay. The problem statement, the chronic study that had been previously been done by Botten, Hawkins, and McCurdy et al. On unilateral and bilateral did not mention whether they are using similar or different relative loads. Thus, the current finding cannot be generalized to argue which training method should be recommended. So when we go to the gym, which should we use? Is it unilateral or bilateral? Because when we look at the bilateral deficit, it can be seen that people maybe they can produce greater strength adaptation using unilateral training method. Okay, but what we want to see here is that we want to look at the trained population. Okay, for the highly resistant trained population, will we see any differences in terms of strength adaptation, power adaptation, agility and speed adaptation after bilateral or unilateral training? The objective of this study is to determine the chronic effects of unilateral versus bilateral resistant training on physical performance among trained men. So the loads that will be used in this study will be based on a specific 80% of unilateral or bilateral 1RM score. So the participant will be the participants are the 45 recreationally active resistant trained men, okay, more than 1 year experience in resistant training, good exercise technique and high training stress, no medical problem, and they are provided with PAQ and informed consent before they can join the this study, and the ethical committee approval has been approved. Okay, and then this 45 resistant trained men has been randomly divided into 3 groups that are unilateral, bilateral, and control group. Okay, participants underwent 6 weeks of resistant training based on the group after the pre-test. The physical performance tests were the unilateral 1RM, bicycle and squat, bilateral 1RM, bicycle and squat, 30-meter sprint, vertical jump, and agility T test. So, the unilateral and bilateral group will perform 3 sessions per week, 80% of respective 1RM loading, 3 sets per session, 2-minute rest between set, 3-minute rest between exercise, and the exercise performed bicycle and squat. Okay. Respective 1RM loading means that if, let's say, the participant in the unilateral group has scored in the unilateral test, they score like 80 kg. So they will leave during the training program 80% of the 80 kg. But in the bilateral group, if the score is 100 kg, so they will leave 80% of the 1RM of the 100 kg. So the training load is different. The training load is based on the 80% of the respective 1RM loading based on their group, unilateral or bilateral. So these are the training exercise. The unilateral training group will perform unilateral dumbbell bicycle and also unilateral squat. Okay, this is unilateral squat, and then bilateral bicycle and bilateral squat. Okay, what we can find here in the result, okay, what we can find here is that during the bilateral bicycle, as you can see in the table here, for the unilateral group, the pre-test is 40 kg, around 40 kg post-test, they get around 12.45% increase in the post-test. And the bilateral group, they increase around 21%. But the control group, they are not doing any recent training. They are just like the other group. They have one common exercise, that is long slow distance running. Okay, just to maintain the cardiovascular ability. Okay, so what we can see here is the unilateral and bilateral. During the bilateral bicycle, the bilateral group produce significantly greater improvement compared to the unilateral group. And the bilateral squat also the same. The bilateral group produce greater increment in the squat exercise. Okay, 17 versus 8%. Okay, then we proceed to the unilateral test. What we can find here is different. Okay, the unilateral bicycle, we can found that the unilateral group produce greater increment in terms of unilateral bicycle compared to the bilateral group. Also the same when we look at squat.
I'm so sorry.
Unilateral.
Can you please make your screen full?
Okay.
PowerPoint screen.
Okay. Is it okay?
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Izzat.
Yeah. All right. And then the unilateral squat, unilateral group produce 18.56%. That is significantly greater than the bilateral group. Okay. So what we can see from both of these bilateral 1RM and unilateral 1RM, we can see that the strength adaptation is based on what they are training. Okay. That means if you are performing training bilaterally, you will increase more in terms of bilateral strength. While when you are doing when you are doing unilateral training, you will increase more in terms of unilateral strength. Okay, this we can relate to the principle of SAID, specific adaptation to impulse demand. What you train will determine what you will get more. Okay, and then we have found this, and then we proceed to the other tests. Okay, what we can see here from the 30-meter sprint test, okay, agility test and vertical jump test, we can see that there are no significantly different between the percentage of improvement between the unilateral and bilateral group. Okay, both training method improve all the tests, 30-meter sprint, agility test, and vertical jump during the post test. But there are no significant difference between unilateral and bilateral. Okay, this is somewhat surprising also, because when we look at the 30-meter sprint and agility tests, both of these tests are actually more tendency to the more similar to the unilateral strength. Okay, but what we can see here, as long as they have good strength, then there are no significant difference. As long as they continue training, whether unilateral or bilateral, the adaptation is no different. Okay, vertical jump also, we can see here, vertical jump is more similar like bilateral strength, bilateral, but what we can see here, there are no significant difference in terms of adaptation. Okay, so these findings suggested that performing exercise unilaterally or bilaterally were similarly effective in improving agility, speed, and power. Okay, and the lateral strength adaptation will depend on the specific training performed. Okay, and one more thing, in the future study, we are also targeting on checking whether uh, if we combine unilateral and bilateral, and one more thing, maybe we can find how about if we perform an exercise using dumbbell but move at the same time. Okay, because right now we cannot say that that is what we maybe term that as independent bilateral. That means we move independently but bilaterally at the same time. So that is what we are going to do in the future. So just that from me. Thank you very much. Is there any question?
Thank you, Dr. Nadzalan, for your presentation. I would like to first ask to the audience if they have any question about your presentation. Okay, Dr. Nadzalan, in fact, it's a very interesting topic, to be honest, because in my research area, I also work on lateralization, motor lateralization mainly. I do not too much involved in studies with strength. I would say lateralization, because it's also lateralization, asymmetry between arms. So I have a couple of questions, if you are okay with it.
Okay.
So first of all, so when you calculated the strength values, did you consider the relative or absolute force? I mean, did you consider the participants' weight?
Actually, no. We just for the strength value, we just compare the absolute load.
Absolute, okay.
Yeah, absolute load. But we make sure that during the when we want to divide the groups, we make sure that both are balanced.
Okay? Equally balanced.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying that there shouldn't be any effects of subject's weight on the results?
Based on what we see in the result, there are not much of the weight differences between all the groups.
Okay. Okay. And
because before my previous research has been done on the absolute and relative load. What we can see is that if the absolute load, if the weight are not different, if the absolute load not different, the relative load also not different.
Yes.
But maybe we should consider that also in the future.
I don't know. I'm just like just asking to maybe a suggestion. or if you are saying that there shouldn't be any effects of subject's weight on the results, then of course, like, you know, as you pointed out on the pretest, both groups values are very close to each other, so there is no significant differences. So it shouldn't be. Maybe in the future studies, we might also, you and me also, of course, everybody might also consider the relative force too. And another question, in fact, during your presentation, you mentioned about something narrow limitations exist in bilateral training or something like that. Did you say something like that? If you go to the second or third slide.
Okay. Yeah, this one.
Yeah, here.
Yeah.
One of the most consistent mechanisms behind this finding is that no limitation exists to
the bilateral exercise. Okay. During the bilateral exercise, something during bilateral exercise, based on the previous study, they have found that there are neural limitations exist during the bilateral exercise. But what we found in this study, okay, this is what they found in the previous study. They say that they found that unilateral strength is greater than the bilateral strength. But what we found in this study is that what we found is different. Okay, what we found is different means that when you look at the result here, you look here, bilateral bicycle, the unilateral strength is, like for example, we take the pre-test 40 kg.
Yes.
For the bilateral bicycle. But what we found here, unilateral bicycle, the pre-test is 30 kg. So this is another differences that we found compared to the other study. Where in this study we found that for the trained population, the bilateral deficit is actually not exist. Okay.
Okay.
For previous study, what we found is that there are differences. The unilateral produce greater strength than bilateral. Okay, that one we consider there are bilateral deficit. But here we take all the highly experienced and trained population. We found that there are no bilateral deficit exist. So that one is what we want to find in the future. Why is this happen? Why is among the highly trained there are no bilateral deficit, and why in the past they found are there untrained population or what? I don't know.
I mean, the thing is, like, you know, regarding the coordination patterns, for instance, the results of like the studies in the literature states that basically, if you do bilateral movements, you know, if you do bilateral movements, you can improve both the coordination patterns of arms, both arms coordination pattern. So if you are doing, like, let's say, like a reaching movement with both hands, you can improve the dominant and plus non-dominant arm coordination, because the interaction in between hemispheres is more when you do bimanual movements, okay, which is like bilateral movements also. So I don't know, like regarding the not the strength values, but agility, speed, and power values. It's kind of little bit strange why there is no significant differences as observed like in the strength, you know.
That's what we need to find out after this. Why? Why is that when the unilateral strength improve, why is there are no different in terms of 30-meter sprint and agility test? That is more on unilateral, I think. So thank you very much for your question. I will find out after this.
Thanks for your great presentation, Dr. Nadzalan. I really liked it. You know, it's very interesting, to be honest, and you have very good results. And then, of course, pops up another question for the future studies. So thank you for your presentation, Dr.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, everyone.
So according to the schedule, normally